So I live in an apartment complex, like really close to my campus. You know, like within like 15 minutes, I can be at like most of my classes. Sometimes 30 minutes, depending on like how far away the class is. But for the most part, it's usually like it's always like a 15-minute walk to class. So pretty much as you would imagine, because my apartment complex is so close, almost everybody in my apartment complex is usually a student. Almost probably like 90% of people living here is probably a student. So oftentimes, usually around end of the week, around Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays, I usually get to experience the joy of hearing the drunken college idiots, you know, stumbling back home. And I'm not saying that necessarily in a judgmental way, because I've been that idiot before. You know, I've been that drunk, belligerent moron. You know, well, maybe not belligerent, but maybe not loud or belligerent, but I've definitely done some stumbling since I've been here. So, I just the description, not saying anything wrong with enjoying your booze. But every once in a while, I hear some really interesting things, and I thought I would share with you one of the funnier things I overheard while just hanging out in my apartment one night. Because it's just an amusing story to me. So, I was in my bed, getting ready to go to sleep. It was about like 1:30 a.m., I think. And I was thinking like, okay, it's getting a little late. I think I'm gonna wind down tonight. I didn't have any like plans that evening to do anything. So I was just like sitting there, just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go to sleep. So as I'm laying there in bed and I'm starting to like doze off, usually takes me a while because I got like insomnia or whatever, but usually takes me, so I'm just like laying there. It's been about 30 minutes. I'm just sitting there waiting for my meds to kick in. And all of a sudden I hear this sound coming from outside my window, and it just like sounds like a muffled like, I'm just like, the fuck is that? And I'm just like, all right, whatever, I'm gonna go back to sleep. Or I'm gonna try to go back to sleep. And then all of a sudden I hear it, he's like, I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm really curious, and again I hear another like groaning sound, and I'm just like, what the fuck is that? So I kind of like crack open my window a little bit so I can hear better, and I kind of look out the window, peek out. My lights were off, so I don't think they could see me looking. No one, neither of like the people out there turned around and looked at me or anything, so I'm pretty sure they didn't notice me. But so I'm looking out the window, and there's this guy, and like my window's like right next to the parking lot, right? So in like the parking lot, there's like a guy on his hands and knees, and there's like a girl standing over him, and this guy is just like laying there, just like, leave me here, just fucking leave me, just leave me. And the girl is like saying to him like, let's just go inside, all right? We'll get to the apartment, all right? And he's just like, no, I'm not going. Just leave me. And he's like really breathy. I don't remember everything he said, but I remember like there was a point where he started talking about like my dad never loved me. He never loved me, man. Nobody cares about me. Like, he's just bearing his fucking soul right now at just top volume. And this girl just keeps going like, alright, we'll talk about this later. Like, it seemed like she might have been a little drunk, but she seemed like way less drunk than he was. And as I'm listening to this story, this guy like talk and stuff and just complain, I start to like figure out the narrative of the whole thing, and I didn't have the whole picture, but basically from what I could tell from this guy's incoherent like like yelling, that basically what happened is this guy was at a party, right, and he got way too drunk, and he started like he did something that has totally embarrassed himself in front of everybody, right, and he's complaining about like I'm humiliated in front of everybody. Nobody can. Everyone's gonna think I'm a fucking failure. Like something like that happened, right? And this girl was basically like, I guess she was like his friend or girlfriend, and she's basically doing damage control. Like, oh shit, I gotta get this guy home. So I guess she like drove him back, and she tried to get him out of the car, but he just fucking fell on just laying there in the fucking parking lot, just like, And it's so funny because you can see her. She's like looking around like constantly, like, oh Jesus fuck! I hope nobody can hear this. When of course like everybody within like anybody even like within like a mile of the area could have heard this fucking guy. And he was out there for like an hour, and it's so funny, like his and you think I'm exaggerating, like with the just leave me, like the breathiness and like that shit. No, I'm not fucking kidding you. Like it was that fucking ridiculous, like his voice. And he was doing like that breathing thing where it's like this. Like have you ever been so drunk before that you start making like this sound, like like you start making like that sound? Like that's like everything this guy was saying was like, but dad just loves me. So the story doesn't exactly have an interesting conclusion, and mostly just wrapped up with eventually she talks him into like going into the apartment, and so eventually there's quiet. But this went on for roughly like an hour. Like, I looked at my watch, like, this guy was just out there for just, like, fucking just an hour, just fucking bearing his soul and all of his insecurities and all of his, just, all this shit just came, just flowing out of this guy. And that's just I just wanted to tell it, because that's an example of some of the shit I hear here, and there's other examples, too. Like, I remember there was another moment where some guy was basically just coming home and was saying, like, you know what, no one cares about you, because you're a fucking faggot, man. You're a fucking faggot. Yeah, no one fucks with me. Like, shit like that. I hear shit like that frequently, but I thought that specific example of the guy on his hands and knees in the parking lot was one of the funnier examples. And I thought I would share it with you, because it made me laugh. So there's a little bit of human drama for you. Hope you enjoyed. Take care.